I'm afraid I carry some deplorable news. Mr. Pratt has been murdered.
How extremely vexing. I wonder if he remembered me in his will. He's 6 months behind in the rent.
You'll have to absorb that cost. He's paid a higher price.
This is very inconvenient. Mr. Mason always said I was too kind for this world.
I'm sure he was a flawless judge of character. Might we look at Mr. Pratt's effects? It can make no difference to the deceased.
As you're not the police, I think not. Even the defunct have some right to privacy. There may be personal items about.
Of a marketable nature, perhaps? Are you familiar with any of Mr. Pratt's haunts, clubs, saloon bars, salons, and such?
No. His leisure activities are a mystery to me. There was his painting, of course.
The flat lacks its own bathtub. Where did he perform his weekly ablutions?
He had rights to one in the basement, but he preferred Neville's in Charing Cross. No doubt a reprobate's delight. All manner of dissipation and depravity are likely to be served with soap and water.
I'm unfamiliar with that particular pleasure palace. Could you identify Pratt for the police if requested?
I should think so. He lived here for more than 3 years. I know his face as my own.
But could you recognize him without reference to his face?
No. But why would I be asked to do that?
Do you know anything about Pratt's years at Cambridge?
Nothing. But he was a university man, that's for certain. I only let rooms to that sort of person.
Did Mr. Pratt have any special friends?
Only Mr. Spacemaker, but I haven't seen him in more than a month.
Spacemaker?
Yes, unusual name, isn't it? Peculiar young man. As pretty as any girl.
Do you have a likeness of Mr. Pratt in your flat that we might borrow?
We did not have that kind of relationship, Mr. Holmes.
What kind is that?
You know very well what kind. The kind that exchanges personal photographs. We were not intimate friends. No one could prove that charge.
I perceive you have a question, Watson.
Shouldn't we find out more about this fellow Spacemaker, where he lives and so on? He might be able to help.
Doubtful, Doctor. The name is certainly an alias. The bearer possesses a basic German vocabulary and a rudimentary sense of humor. Anything of material interest here, Doctor? Using my methods, please.
There's a dearth of personal items of any kind. Address book, writing materials, letters, photos, that sort of thing.
Well observed. You've noted what's missing, though one would expect to find more of that sort of thing in the bedroom. Still, this chamber deserves our closest attention. Watson, we need to peruse the flat. Can you occupy Mrs. Mason?
Would you suggest a sharp rap on the head?
Use your imagination and your knowledge of the distaff nature.
This woman confounds my paltry knowledge, Holmes, but appeals to her vanity might not fall on deaf ears.
What do you know of Neville's, Doctor?
An ordinary bath off St. Martin's Place. Depravity, indeed. This woman's an imbecilic prig. I shouldn't wonder if her husband dispatched himself to get clear of her.
If I may ask, Mrs. Mason, how did you lose your husband?
He was a cooper plying his trade. Fell into a great barrel of stout and was drowned, poor dear. Clearer proof of alcohol's evils there never was.
I'm sure he thought highly of you and confided in you. Perhaps you have the names of his friends or relations in your flat?
I do not. He was orphaned by the Sepoy Rebellion, and the uncle who raised him has been dead for years. He had no family that I know about. Would the ministry consider paying his back rent, do you think?
Perhaps you would like to freshen up and change your handsome frock.
Oh, why would I ever want to do that?
I'm sure that a chief inspector from the CID will be by directly for a chat. They always interview the most important parties in a murder investigation. You'll need to accompany him to Scotland Yard. There'll be numerous photographers and journalists about. I thought you might like to prepare yourself for the ordeal.
Oh, well, I see. Very thoughtful of you, Mr. Holmes. Oh, being in the public eye is such a trial. Excuse me, gentlemen. Close the door when you leave.
I suspect we'll see no more of her.
Capital, Holmes, capital. The appeal to her vanity was irresistible. It overwhelmed her suspicion that we would make off with Pratt's valuables.
I believe she knows the worth of every item in this flat to the last farthing, and it isn't much. Her exit, like everything she does, is calculated. But let us take advantage of her narcissism. You know my practice, Watson. I'm looking for anything unexpected.
Was Pratt a voluminist?
I sincerely doubt it. Merely economical when it was convenient. But these may be of future interest. Evidently, no establishment is so base that its reputation can't be ameliorated. Perhaps one day I shall make a study of match packet advertisements. Pratt apparently patronized the weary punt more than once. I'll just bring this along. Someone may recognize it. Useful items, hat-pins.
I'm sure. This certainly falls under the heading of unexpected.
Perfect tool for cleaning the hookah. I suspected this pin never pierced a bonnet or a lady's coiffure. Useful items, hat-pins. May I have your opinion of Pratt's decor, Watson?
Bordellos and counterfeit harems of the world could learn a thing or two here. Did the filing clerk fancy himself a Maharaja?
It's an old story. He was meant to be a potentate, but an accident of birth deprived him of his true destiny. What is the attraction of these devices? Is water-cooled smoke more healthful?
Hardly. One doesn't smoke for one's health. The hookah merely makes for a change. As with all habits, it is subject to abuse.
And how, in your opinion, does an innocuous habit become a vice?
Excess, Holmes, a subject about which you are expert.
You know this odour, Watson, unless I have mistaken your experience.
Opium. The acrid, nearly sickening scent is unmistakable.
The source is obvious. Its significance is less so. The bowl appears clogged with the poppy's viscous residue. Pratt's pecuniary embarrassment went far beyond defaulting on his rent.
Why do you say so?
A heap of overdue bills, requests for credit, all denied, and a record of ill-conceived investments.
He sounds a reckless fool. There, but for the grace of God, any of us might be if we're desperate enough.
Very true, Watson. It would help to know what caused his desperation. Do you recognize this remnant of red cloth?
It looks like a segment of ribbon.
Yes, government issue. The type used to bind official documents. There is no doubt in my mind that Pratt was a principal in the formula's theft. He truly was a fool.
But questions remain, surely. Why would Pratt have stolen it?
Why indeed? And what did he do with it? And where is it now?
And why was he killed?
Fools tend to be foolish more than once. They are as dangerous to their friends as to their enemies. This wax once sealed Dewar's document. I'd bet on it.
Where's the other half?
If I knew, we'd be further along. But you make a nice observation, Watson. It does appear to be nearly a perfect half of the seal. Do you suppose this is a photo of the supposititious spacemaker?
Why do you think the name is intended to deceive?
In life or literature, I'll wager you've never seen it. It's a jest. Spacemaker, or Spaßmacher, means the joker in German.
Would it be interesting to know why an alias was necessary or desirable?
At the least, he wanted to conceal his identity from Mrs. Mason, but the Act of '85 may have been on his mind.
Surely that's pure speculation, Holmes.
Not so speculative, Watson, and hardly pure. People's predilections are their own affair until their criminal actions make them mine. The seal, the ribbon, the paper ash. The evidence is suggestive.
That Pratt destroyed what he stole? Perhaps his nerve failed him, or he repudiated his treachery, but you will say suggestive evidence is not conclusive.
Quite right, Watson. There is a large crime in motion. We must not be distracted by apparent solutions to portions of it. Pratt was murdered for the part he played in the formula's theft. His killer must be sought, but the questions suggested by the theft itself are still more important.
You want to know why the theft was committed and who gained by it if not the thief.
My hat, Doctor, you have been paying attention. Wilde is widely credited with the wittiest riposte of the decade.
Which was?
The justly ignored poet laureate once approached him. "Oscar," he complained, "no one notices my work. There is a conspiracy of silence against me. What shall I do?" Wilde instantly replied, "Join it."
Regrettably, the poet laureate ignored that sound advice. How can I?
There are certainly more rank odours, but it is revolting to discover mildew in towels. I'm certain the authorities would deem it less than hygienic. Just a modicum of your garden variety muck. What does this place have against regular applications of soap and water? Hot and wet, a perfect breeding ground for mold. Pasteur would doubtless pay for samples of the captive bacteria.
His institute deals only in virulent and contagious forms, neither of which this is.
Perhaps, but you won't deny it is disgusting. Are either of you gentlemen acquainted with Mr. Thomas Pratt?
Don't believe I've had the pleasure. Have you, Dickie? No, I'm quite certain. Pratt I've heard of. Particular eating habits, as I recall. But Pratt, no Pratt tucked away in Yogram at Rumfade. Nice chap, is he? A Neville's man, that sort of thing, what?
Moron. Perhaps the heat has addled his brain.
More likely he's simply stupid.
If these dolts are representative of the new generation of civil servants, Watson, the country is in trouble. Do you recall anything about Mr. Thomas Pratt or his associates?
No, but it appears we should. There was a chap in here earlier asking for him. Seems to be a popular fellow, Dickie. How is it we don't know him?
I believe Thomas Pratt was a patron of these premises. When did you last see him?
Adrian Russell at your service. Were you thinking of joining us here at Neville's? I can make you an handsome introductory offer.
We'd like a private word about Pratt.
What are the chances? At Neville's, his privacy is my business.
Who are the men on the drying couches, Mr. Russell?
Haven't a clue.
You don't recognize your clientele?
I know a nosy Parker from a paying customer.
The premises seem lightly attended. What amenities are available here?
We have an exercise room, a steam bath, modern individual steam cabinets, and 2 invigorating cold water plunges. You could do worse.
We should like to see the baths.
Baths are baths. There are several members back there au naturel. They don't appreciate intruders.
Perhaps we will become members, Russell. It looks a decent enough place.
Sound thought. Put colour in your frog-belly complexion, improve muscle tone, and you get to meet a nice class of person. All for a modest cost. I'll get the paperwork, shall I?
Of course, we'd need to inspect all the facilities.
Fine, but as I've said, don't pester the clients, and the baths are not available to you at the moment.
I'm not impressed with your choice of tobacco.
The patrons don't complain.
Perhaps the smell conceals some other scent. Perhaps you are encouraging some less savory activities here?
Leave off. What about a membership? Think you'd like to join?
When I decide I want to spend my leisure conversing with dunces while smoking bad tobacco and acquiring pestiferous skin ailments, you'll be informed. I'm now ready to inspect the baths, Russell.
No, you're not. You've no intention of joining up.
Listen, you muscle-bound twit. Neville's is in violation of numerous tenets in the Code of Public Health. Mold, mildew, common filth are rampant. Let us pass, or I'll report these unsanitary outrages forthwith, and you'll be out of business by this evening.
You made your point. I'll try to keep it clean, but there's too much for one person to do. Can't find any decent help. I'll accompany you. And remember, don't be bothering my clients. You can't walk about unsupervised, mister.
The name is Holmes, Mr. Russell, and I not only can, I have done.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Whitney, sir. As for you, that tears it. Bloody foreign tricks! Get me out of this muck!
Bajitsu is hardly a trick, Mr. Russell. Watson, make certain Mr. Russell remains aquatic. I've had enough of his interference.
With pleasure, Holmes.
A fortuitous meeting, Mr. Whitney. I am Sherlock Holmes.
After you've replaced my towel, you might ask if I care.
Considering your position, Whitney, you might curb your impertinence long enough to discover my purpose.
Your purpose is of no interest. If you continue to harass me, I will take steps.
Naked and enervated? Excuse me, but I doubt your capacity for action. As your attendant is occupied, let's talk about the formula missing from your reading room.
That is a ministry matter. You have no claim to my cooperation, and your brother's obvious indiscretion may be actionable.
My brother's judgment is not likely to be challenged. Yours, on the other hand...
Save your threats. They are ignorant and rude. I speak only on the authority of my superiors, of whom you are not one.
At the moment, you are not accused, Whitney. I'm simply trying to gather information.
You'll get none from me. I know my rights and my duties.
I'll ask you once to reconsider your intransigence.
You waste your breath.
No, my speech perhaps, my patience certainly. My brother nearly killed, and you stand on some inflated idea of your own importance. You fatuous twit. We'll see whose breath is wasted. You will not trifle with me, Whitney. Tell me what you know.
I recognize extortion when I see it. This is not a joke. I'm having trouble breathing.
You'll have to do better than state the obvious.
I had no part in the initial disappearance. It was not my responsibility. I do my job very well. I know nothing about this.
But if pressed, innocent as you are, you might speculate about the guilty party?
Yes. Question the Ratchet woman, the Char. She is an internationalist. Have no idea why she's kept on. Could you turn down the heat?
A small taste of Hades for you, I should imagine. Go on.
Many times I've mentioned security is very lax, very slipshod. She could walk off with anything. The heat, Mr. Holmes, could you?
Where might I find Mrs. Ratchet?
She lives in some East End hovel.
The East End is vast. Where exactly?
Pratt would know. Well, ask Sir Avery. He's palsy with her. Is it any wonder respect for the British Empire is on the wane? She's the char. I ask you, I mean, for heaven's sake, I don't take tea with a woman.
Fortunate for her. Describe her, please.
She's a plain woman.
Brilliant. Colouring, height, weight, facial shape, teeth, distinguishing characteristics?
Who notices such things about the char?
If you don't want to be parboiled, you better have noticed something.
On her tea breaks she reads. Everything. Reading all the time, classified documents for all I know. And it makes her squint badly. Probably needs spectacles. Are my eyes starting to bulge?
Not to worry, Mr. Whitney. You're a fine shade of lobster pink. When did you last see Thomas Pratt?
I truly can't recall. Except when we pass in the hall or exchange duties at the desk. We had only Nevilles in common. Turn down the heat, will you?
Thomas Pratt has been found dead, Mr. Whitney.
You don't say. Well, nihil nisi bonum de mortuis, but I suspect he had numerous unfortunate habits and the associations to match.
Would you care to elaborate on that obloquy?
The truth defames no one. He was an unhappy man, and I'm sure he indulged in drugs. Died by his own hand, did he?
Hardly. He was assassinated. To punish him and complicate his identification, his face was obliterated. The bullet nearly blew his head off.
Why?
Because he knew something he should not have known. If you're involved in anything you shouldn't be, have a care, Mr. Whitney. Can you conceive of a connection between Pratt's murder and the stolen formula?
There isn't one.
How can you be sure?
I didn't just fall off the back of a turnip wagon. I am mentally acute.
That is palpably false, but for the moment I'll assume you're simply ignorant of a connection. Our conversation thus far has been neither difficult nor painful. It can become both, if you insist.
I have nothing more to say to you on any subject. Just replace my towel and leave.
There are few things I appreciate less than being lied to, Mr. Whitney.
I'll try to remember that.
Test my patience and I'll make certain you never forget it. Could July on the Ubangi be any more unpleasant than this?
Heat appeals to many persons, Holmes.
Laplanders might be happy for the change, I suppose, but only masochists would find it pleasant.
Is anyone whose preferences are at a variance with your own by definition aberrant?
Being the supreme arbiter of right thinking and behavior is a terrible burden, Watson. An awesome responsibility.
I'm pleased your sense of humor has not deserted you completely.
Ideas, Watson?
I'm afraid my brain's on the boil, Holmes.
Please show me in. I have tragic news for Lord Lawton.
Did his favourite nag break a leg?
A colleague of his named Pratt has been found murdered.
Young Master Thomas. I am sorry. He was a nice boy, troubled but kind. In the old Lord's day, he was often here. Haven't seen him in years. No, my lord, I will not.
Do you require constant supervision, Mr. Holmes?
Sorry, just curious.
Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, my lord.
My position requires further reflection. Billiards is fascinating, don't you think? I'm sorry to inform you that your friend Thomas Pratt has been found dead.
Really? How unlucky. We were at Cambridge together, but I barely knew him. You might as well offer your condolences to the ministry char. How did he die? Heart failure?
Yes, it stopped after he was shot twice in the face.
Pity. He had such a beautiful face.
And a rose tattoo on his backside.
I'm sure I don't know, though I'm not surprised you do. Your type specializes in the nether regions.
Your colleague should know of Pratt's condition and other developments. Where might I find Sir Avery Fanshawe?
He took Brumwell's old pile in Chelsea. Wife is infatuated with redecorating. He'll be riveted by the news if you can wake him.
And Philip Bledsoe?
Haven't a clue. Heard the unsociable lout has chambers in Gray's Inn.
How about the clerk, Eldridge Whitney? Do you know anything of his whereabouts away from work?
The pathetic sod keeps a cot at the ministry, uses a public bath as his dressing room.
What do you think is the connection between Pratt's murder and the formula's disappearance?
There is no connection whatsoever.
I must now decide whether you are remarkably unimaginative or a liar. Perhaps both.
I don't have to tolerate insults in my own home.
I'm sorry, tact has deserted me. There is no doubt that Pratt's execution and the theft of the formula are related, Lord Lawton. If Pratt was not the thief, he knew who was.
So you say. The problem is, no one, your brother included, has conclusively proved that the formula was stolen.
What a surprise. The body charged with making that determination cancelled its inquiry almost as soon as it began. I ask again why the investigation was terminated.
There is no need to make mountains from molehills. Bring the ministry into disrepute every time some papers are mislaid. Go there yourself. You have my permission. You'll see what sort of place it is. Despite your brother's efforts, it's not terribly well ordered.
You expect the formula to turn up, then?
I think it probable. Well, it's a definite possibility at the very least. A clerk may have misplaced it, or the char, or one of the members. Stop grilling me and go bother them, or better, return to your own affairs.
Just so you know, Lawton, the discovery of the formula would not complete this investigation. We are far beyond the resolution of a simple theft. You neglect this fact at your peril.
If you want someone to bully, bother Fanshawe. Or Silverbridge. He initiated the call for termination. Rake him over the coals. I have nothing more to say.
Your employer was less than forthcoming about Mr. Pratt, Jenkins. I wonder if I might have a private word.
Possibly. Highly irregular, probably disloyal, but possibly. I liked that boy.
I'll tell you of Mr. Pratt's demise. In return, you could answer some questions and let me look about.
Lord Lawton will be out with Lady Lockridge later.
Fine. I'll return.
I'll trade for information about Master Pratt, but there's a higher cost for telling tales out of school and giving you the run of the house. You play a decent game of billiards?
I have a passable game. I'm not really...
I'm a devotee, but one can always improve. If you can teach me a lesson, we could have a chinwag afterward. If you can't, I'm mum. That's the deal, agreed?
You seem quite sure of the outcome?
As sure as the Lord Chief Justice wears a wig. Be in the limelight with the lads at the academy when I tell him I had you over a barrel here.
Is Lord Lawton a music aficionado?
Very devoted to euterpe and terpsichore. Music's the only thing we have money for nowadays. Cylinders, scores, stands, new felt piano tuning and the like.
Perhaps you might stand in my place at the table. You wield a decent cue.
You take neither pleasure nor honour in playing me. It's you he wants.
In that case, I wonder if Jock Mahoney still holds court at St. Bernard's. He may know Jenkins.
As I recall, you two didn't part the best of mates.
True, but I don't hold a grudge. Perhaps we should return to 221B for reflection.
I'm sure I could use some refreshment.
I'd like a word with Mr. Whitney. Can you help?
I don't keep his social calendar, Mr. Holmes. Only the Queen's business is conducted here. You can't remain.
Do you know where I might find him?
For Chairman Holmes' sake, I'll tell you that Whitney's probably wasting away in his bath. Now please leave.
May I examine the premises?
Absolutely not. Leave or I'll have you charged with criminal trespass.
Hardly the most secure of rooms, Watson.
Well, the door lock would not challenge a burglar of moderate skill.
Anyone with access to the shelves could steal their contents, one document at a time.
Place runs on the honour system, like the library of a gentleman's club. No wonder security's in a muddle.
Can we learn anything more here, Watson?
About the deplorable condition of British security, I'm sure. About our case, I'm less certain.
Unless you were looking for a premature demise, best put down that cue case. Hello, Jock. Remember me? Not likely to forget a world-famous snoop, am I? I need a favour. Bad luck. I'm fresh out. Your marital affairs appear to have altered precipitously. What happened? My marriage is up the spout. I'll leave off before I stow this cue in your gullet. I assume you're still cock of the walk here. Would you like a game? Like you could give me one? No chance. I don't mess with amateurs. I'd pay for the privilege. Me? In your employ? Not bloody likely. I'm not good enough for you to play, and you won't help me get better. Not terribly sporting. Stuff sporting. You had your way with me last time you was here. Never again. That's unfair, Jock. I caused you no real harm, and your information helped apprehend a vicious murderer. End justifies the means, does it? You forced me to grass on a friend. Do you prefer billiards or snooker? Makes no difference. I prefer drinking at my local and a game of darts. But a bloke's got to earn his daily bread, or beer, as the case may be. Not much by way of conversation around here, is there?
All a man could want. The surface even. Best friends I ever had. Salt of the earth. Better than my nanny. Better than my old hound.
You know Mr. Mahoney, then?
Who? Sounds an Irish name. I wouldn't know him. Not my sort.
Attractive redecoration, but you've lost some of your humbler custom.
We continue to receive gentlemen of leisure and refinement who take pleasure in the joys of intelligent conversation and a game of skill.
Sounds like a magazine advert.
It is.
A large brandy, please.
With pleasure, sir. That'll be a shilling.
Why is Mr. Mahoney in such a foul mood?
I deal drinks and darts, sir. Information concerning my customers cannot be purchased at any price.
May I have the darts, please?
Will you be playing a serious game, sir?
You'll be the first to know.
No need to get shirty. I just work here.
The aphorism claims that skill at billiards is a sign of youth misspent. Do you credit it?
No more than any other decrepit clichés. A good man who can handle a cue is no less admirable for that fact. Quite the reverse.
The Academy seems to have travelled a bit upmarket, has it not?
Miraculous change. Quite snug in this incarnation. Shame they couldn't eliminate the smell.
That would have required a miracle of quite another magnitude. Not a promising beginning, Watson. Jock won't even speak to me.
The right to silence is a cornerstone of democracy. In this investigation, we've had a cold shoulder from all segments of society.
Very annoying. I could do without the political lesson. I feel like Sisyphus. Just when I think I'm getting somewhere, I roll back to the beginning.
It's unlike you to leave unfinished what you've started. Put your nose to the wheel.
Very colloquial, Watson. What do you recommend?
Keep at it, man. Keep working him.
Is that encouragement, exhortation, or a command?
Whatever suits.
Observations, Watson?
Are you taking up residence here, Holmes? If you've had enough refreshment, you have a case to investigate.
We're starting to get friendly, Mr. Holmes. Don't spoil it. Lady Fanshawe, I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
Was I expecting you? Where's that butler? Are you the workman I ordered? I have some fascinating ideas for this foyer.
Some sad associations here, Watson. You called it the case of the serrated scalpel, I believe.
Yes, a heart-wrenching business. But in the end, a job well done. The Brumwells are all deceased. I wonder if the staff stayed on.
I doubt it. They were lifetime retainers to the family. The Brumwell butler was a trial. Pettigrew, wasn't it?
Pettigrew by name, petulant by nature.
Fine conceit, Doctor. And even better if he's still about. What impression have you formed of the lady's taste, Watson?
She has none. Even the lovely things have been ruined by her excesses. Beauty is wasted on such people.
Lao Kun in colour seems a crude development.
Poor aesthetic judgment aside, the placement of a scale model of this masterpiece in a private foyer is wretchedly excessive.
We'd like to speak with Sir Avery, please. Is he available?
I'm not his man Friday. I imagine he's roaming somewhere with Hodgkins. Who knows? It's rude to ask a lady questions she doesn't know the answers to. Ask me something I know.
That might be difficult.
It's most aggravating. You're certain you haven't come from that charming Sloane Street gallery? I have more brilliant ideas for improving the foyer.
If I may ask, why have you painted the architecture and statuary?
Marble is so drab, don't you think? No life to it. My advisor says it's traditional. The Romans painted everything. Or was it the Japanese? Oh, it doesn't matter, I suppose. People from a long time ago.
May I speak with Pettigrew, please?
Pettigrew receives callers on his own time. Sunday afternoons. Use the servants' entrance. Was there something else?
These vases are superb. They're Hangwu, aren't they?
Hanghu? No, they're Chinese. My husband bought them for his umbrella. Very convenient, although they're quite old.
Lady Fanshawe, might you venture a guess as to where your husband is?
I guess he's out, unless he's in, of course. This is a large house. I don't see him for days at a time. What difference does it make? I'm inventing an exciting colour scheme for the library. Would you like to see it?
Perhaps another day, thank you. Watson, please give me your sense of Lady Fanshawe.
She is what I believe the Americans call dizzy.
Well said, whatever it means.
It means confused, flighty, and credulous in the extreme.
That suggests a line of attack. Lady Fanshawe, I must speak with Pettigrew to make delivery arrangements.
You are from that art gallery. I knew it. Oh, I so love a surprise.
This will be a rather large one.
What is it? What is it? Oh, Avery, such a dear. I won't tell him you told.
I mustn't, Lady Fanshawe. I've said too much already. The sooner I speak to Pettigrew, the sooner I can deliver.
Pettigrew! Come this instant. Au revoir, gentlemen. I won't say goodbye. Pettigrew!
Do you remember us, Pettigrew?
Try as I might to forget, Mr. Holmes, I do.
Your manners were perhaps lost in the effort. Never mind. Let's avoid a bad start. Is Sir Avery available?
No, lucky man is rarely about when Lady Fanshawe is, and she's always here.
Is Lady Fanshawe likely to know Sir Avery's whereabouts?
Milady knows very little about anything. In between bouts of redecorating, she entertains the beau monde and makes unreasonable demands on the staff.
But perhaps she pays well?
In truth, she is mean and bloody-minded, and I'm this close to giving notice. Was there something you wanted beyond below stairs, gossip?
Where does Sir Avery spend his time? Away from the ministry?
I don't know. If that's all, you may leave a card if you wish.
My business is urgent, Pettigrew. One of his colleagues has died horribly.
Death seems to follow you about, Mr. Holmes. A combination of occupational hazard and bad luck, I imagine.
Have your joke, Pettigrew. I'm not the one wearing the clown suit. Please don't allow personal enmity to color your judgment. I need your help.
Helping you, Mr. Holmes, rarely helps me. Have you noticed?
I purposefully kept your name from the Brumwell debacle. I don't say you were an accomplice, but Lestrade believed you had guilty knowledge of your employer's scheme. Do not repay me with animosity. You owe me none.
The sting of Lord Bramwell's demise is still fresh, I apologize. When Sir Avery is not at what he calls his work, he can usually be found snoozing at the Diogenes Club or feeding the birds in St. James Park.
Sir Avery is very old to be out alone. Is his attendant called Hodgkins?
Hodgkins is Sir Avery's body servant. Very intimidating party, very dear to the old gentleman. And the feeling is mutual.
Of course. I recall him now. The scourge of the Crimea.
The same. Still wears his campaign badges and hat. Honours and protects them like his patron. Recently disassembled a man in the Aldersgate Underground for having the temerity to ask Sir Avery the time of day.
A cautionary tale, thank you. Give me a mix to draw the best warblers, Mr. Hayward.
For sixpence, Mr. Holmes, I'll guarantee an exaltation of larks.
Hello, Birdie. Business brisk?
Not so as you'd notice, Mr. Holmes. After government's passed by and trade still stinks, I'll wager not much of the Queen's work got done today.
I'm sure you're right. Fred in fine form?
As always, more than once I wished I had his disposition.
Have you spoken with Sir Avery Fanshawe recently?
Oh, not in 20 years. He's across the way now at his usual spot. Old fool thinks I ridiculed him. I told him his mixture was too rich for songbirds. Took it as a personal affront. He attracts only pigeons and blames me for it.
There's no reasoning with a man whose passion is thwarted.
Is that the voice of sadder but wiser experience, Watson? Never mind. You're spot on, and it gives me an idea. Let's feed the birds. Could you play a lilting waltz for me, Birdie?
With pleasure, Mr. Holmes.
Macaques seem remarkably clever creatures. What do you say, Watson?
In India, they're valued for their companionship and intelligence. The sergeant major in my division cared for 2 orphaned brothers. Like children they were, only smarter. But in their playfulness, they can make a world of mischief.
The park's best season is a closely argued issue. Do you have an opinion?
It's a sterile question to me, Holmes. Weather cannot affect the park's true beauty or its inestimable value.
Could you play a rousing march for me, Birdie?
Nothing simpler, Mr. Holmes.
Could you play a spirited song for me, Birdie?
Oh no, just the one, Mr. Holmes.
Could you play a lilting waltz for me?
With pleasure.
Your efforts are angering the old boy.
Get away from here now!
Might I have a word with Sir Avery?
If you're tired of this life, you can try. Be a good lad and push off.
I'll only take a moment.
If you don't want it to be your last, don't linger. Move on now.
Your dedication to Sir Avery does you credit, but I have official business to discuss.
I'll say this once, slowly. Leave now, and nobody gets hurt. Stay, and you're for the water or worse. Get away from here now!
They make an unusual pair, do they not, Watson?
If the Queen's retainers are as vigilant as Mr. Hodgkins, she is well served. A poet could describe their relationship better than a policeman.
You recognize something in yourself, Doctor. Devotion to a chosen duty.
Thank you, Holmes.
As advertised, Hodgkins is a menacing brute, and Sir Avery was oblivious.
I hope recent demands have not exhausted your imagination and left us bereft of the means for dealing with him short of force.
Efforts to overpower him would be futile, Watson, but I'm not prepared for failure. I need to capture Sir Avery's interest another way. I believe Hodgkins has the wherewithal to deliver on his threats.
Agreed, and I have no desire to test a contrary hypothesis. You'll have to fabricate a more subtle approach to Sir Avery.
Perhaps I can distract Hodgkins by dividing his devotion in disparate directions.
Sometimes your speech is perfectly opaque, Holmes. I hope your thought is less murky.
Remember what Pettigrew said about the campaign cap? With assistance from more nimble fingers, I might borrow it. What civil servant or city man wouldn't prefer these surroundings to his office?
None with a modicum of sense and the intelligence to use it.
Does Fred take instruction, Birdie?
If you mean will he do on command what he does by nature, the answer is sometimes.
I need to talk to Sir Avery. Might Fred create a diversion to occupy Hodgkins?
Not a problem.
Brilliant. I'm told the old warhorse is very fond of his campaign cap. Might Fred lift it and take him on a romp through the park?
Perfect. But he's only part of your problem. His absence is no guarantee that Fanshawe will talk. He's attuned to birds, not people.
Sir Avery, my name is Holmes. My brother is Mycroft.
Your family connections do not interest me, young man. How are you drawing those lovely birds? What are you feeding them?
My personal mixture.
Probably infused with some irresistible avian narcotic. Where might a fellow get some?
Mycroft was injured in the incident that leveled the Diogenes Club.
You're Holmes' brother, are you? Why didn't you say so? Heard he'll recover. Explosions are damned nuisance. Where's a fella supposed to get his grub?
I have some questions about the termination of the investigation into the stolen formula.
Blasted committee hearings, insufferably boring. Stolen formula, my Aunt Fanny. Things disappear from that room all the time, and reappear. Even if it was stolen, who cares? Talk of technical advantages, militarist nonsense. I've learned that much in my life. People don't matter. Committee's useless. I'm an old man. I don't have unlimited time. Cuts into my park visits.
Is that why you voted to terminate the investigation?
And what if it was? These birds depend on me, and me on them, I suppose. I've seen these special hearings come to nothing 100 times.
You could be wrong this once. Do you recall who initiated the demand to terminate the investigation?
Silverbridge, I think, or Lawton. I just joined the pro group and saw no evidence for theft. Holmes' nose was out of joint over the decision, very upset. I'd stand him to a large brandy at the club, smooth things over. If there was a club.
Would it surprise you to learn that Thomas Pratt has been murdered?
Among the defects of old age is that one loses the capacity to be surprised. Do you know why he was killed?
I believe he was materially involved in the formula's disappearance.
Really? You could be right, I suppose. He might have taken it. I'm sorry for him. He was a closed book. Sort of a chap with secrets. He lost his family young, lost his friends later, and now he's lost his life. And for what? Perhaps I've lived too long, Mr. Holmes. The world has grown. Strange and hard, it passed me by.
Sir Avery, where might I find the reading room charm, Mrs. Ratchet?
Why bother her?
Just tying up some loose ends.
Wonderful woman, reliable, pleasant, been in the ministry forever. A little pink, I'm told, as if that mattered. She lives just east of Spitalfield Market. Don't know the address, appalling place. Hodgkins and I saw her home one night. Most distressing. If you find her, she's likely to be closed-mouthed. You might use my name.
I wish Mycroft had annotated his summary. I don't believe Fanshawe is involved.
That's a guess, surely. Mycroft suspected all committee members.
No, I don't believe he ever thought all members were materially involved. He implied they must all be suspects until they could be eliminated from suspicion. By observation, I have eliminated Fanshawe. He has mostly retreated to a world of his own devising, and is incurious about any other. It is not an unattractive world.
Remember your Plato. Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living.
Plato was a younger, less experienced man than Sir Avery, as was Socrates for that matter, and neither of them knew Lady Fanshawe. Hepplethwaite, I must see Silverbridge. Immediately.
What do you imagine has changed since you were last denied your wish?
Certainly not your impertinence, but as you are his keeper, I'll tell you. The probable thief of a ministry document has been brutally murdered. Silverbridge instigated the move to terminate an official investigation into the theft. You may draw your own inferences. I have drawn mine. He may speak to me now, or to Inspector Lestrade later. Announce us now, or I will bring the entire investigative apparatus of Scotland Yard and the Ministry of Defence to bear on this house.
Your reputation for subtlety is undeserved, Mr. Holmes. I'll take you in.
Hebblethwaite, what's going on? Is he very ill?
He'll come round. Be patient for a moment. The potion usually works unless he's been abusing it.
Does this happen frequently?
He's been frail since his wife's death. Occasionally physical consequences manifest themselves.
Holmes? Did you say Holmes?
Yes, sir. Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I believe.
Doesn't the child have his own room?
Of course, but he spends most of his time in here with his father. His effects are always available. I'm under instructions not to tidy.
You do not look well, Mr. Silverbridge.
Forgive my not rising. Unsteady on my pegs of late.
My news will not improve your condition. Thomas Pratt has been brutally murdered.
Oh, how dreadful. Why was he killed?
The motive is unclear, but he was certainly involved in the formula's disappearance from the ministry. The vigorous investigation that you quashed is now not only justified, it is urgently necessary. My brother will expect your support. Will you assist him?
No. I mean, oh my heavens, Oh, yes, thank you, I think.
Did you know Pratt well?
No, seemed a civil chap. A little dissipated. There were rumours. What happened?
He was shot and discarded in the Thames, like a sewer rat.
If he was the thief, I should think the matter of the document's disappearance is closed.
Hardly. We should all want to know why he stole it, and for whom. Your committee will be especially interested in what he did with it, and my brother will want to know why the initial inquiry was abandoned. I assure you, questions will be raised.
You'll have to excuse me, gentlemen. I'm not feeling well.
Why did you move to terminate the investigation into the theft?
In the end, it was unanimous accepting Mycroft. The document was deemed insignificant, all things considered.
Flapdoodle. Others may have calculated the political consequences should the disappearance be exposed, but not you, I think. Was your vote coerced?
What an asinine question, of course not. I'm my own man on all issues.
What I see around me refutes that contention.
My domestic arrangements are no concern of yours.
Wrong, Mr. Silverbridge. Whatever motivates you concerns me. I believe you were coerced, and I will ferret out the truth, the consequences be damned. That's your son's portrait, isn't it? Handsome lad. Where is he now?
Virgil is at school at Marylebone in Windsor. He's a day pupil.
He looks a clever boy. Must take after his mother. I believe I'll call on him.
Mr. Holmes, please don't. I beg you. Stop. You don't know what you're doing. I must not assist. Please. Oh, yes, thank you, I think.
The boy favors his mother's physical features.
Fortunate boy.
More than a little spoiled, I suspect, and motherless for some time.
You go too far, Holmes. You saw her picture in the hall.
But I didn't see her, nor evidence of her, nor of any woman for that matter. I can't make anything of the scratches on the table.
Is it some kind of code? Ciphers are your special subject, Holmes.
It's simply impossible to see what's there. Do you have a recommendation, Doctor?
I'm stymied, Holmes. Must we reconnoitre?
Perhaps. His behavior is more than strange. We must find the cause of it. What do you perceive, Doctor? Is it not a peculiar room?
There is no explanation that would prevent me from calling it odd. The mix of adult and child effects is unique.
I like the idea of it. I hope it is a sign of things to come. Father never allowed Mycroft and me in his study. Pepplethwaite, where is Virgil Silverbridge?
I saw him off to school on a Windsor train.
His father believes the boy is in danger. You suspect the same, or you're dimmer than I think.
The master's worried sick, Mr. Holmes, as you've seen, and he's frightening me. He's eaten nothing. The fainting is worse than when his missus passed away. It must have to do with Virgil. Nothing else would undo him.
What's happened? What's different? When did he change?
He brought home a letter yesterday on pink paper. I saw it when I lighted the fire. He did not confide its contents to me, but he has been closeted away since then. Hasn't left the room. He falls apart in private.
His jacket has no pockets, and there is no paper on his desk. Do you know where the letter is now?
I never saw it out of his hand. He may have burned it.
I don't believe Silverbridge destroyed it, but given his condition, I don't think he will voluntarily admit it exists, let alone divulge its contents. We must have that letter, Watson.
What is it, Holmes?
It's an opening move, Watson. PQ4, PQB4, NQB3, PK4. It's a variation on the famous Queen's Gambit. Probably saw his father make the move. But why write it down? Note the Windsor postmark, the lip gloss on the adhesive, and stationer's watermark.
If your committee's investigation continues or the police learn of this note, Virgil's temporary absence will become permanent. Compliance will ensure his safe return in a few days' time.
The note is genuine, isn't it? He is missing.
Yes, when the headmaster reported Virgil's absence, I had already received the note. I said the boy was ill.
Kidnapping is an atrocious crime, and extortion is as bad. But there is more at stake here than your son's well-being.
Virgil is my heir and only child. I could not jeopardize his safety for the sake of a classified document.
You may have jeopardized the security of your country.
To my everlasting shame, I fear you are right. It was a difficult choice, Mr. Holmes. Pray you never have to make it.
I will not judge you, sir. This crime is a strand in a tortuously tangled knot of theft, murder, and conspiracy. Despite the note's warning, I must try to unravel this snarl of deception and perfidy. You are wrong to assume the kidnapper's goodwill. Virgil is temporarily useful to them. When he ceases to be, who knows what will happen? One does not trust the word of extortionists. He must be urgently found.
My hopes and Virgil's too rest with you, Mr. Holmes.
Can you spare a picture of the boy?
Of course. He's bigger now, and his hair has lost most of its lovely red.
And what about something that is particularly his?
Take anything.
Is there any more you can tell us, Mr. Silverbridge?
I'm afraid not. I've expended all my energy trying and failing to justify my culpable silence. I may have harmed my country and done nothing for my boy.
Lose that thought, sir. Conserve your strength for the struggle to come. We're for Windsor, Doctor. Any pertinent ideas?
None you haven't considered. Shall we renew our acquaintance with a certain redoubtable hound?
You know my methods. Use the best tool for the job. If your hair is on fire, don't try to put it out with a hammer.
Do you know who holds the boy?
Not at all. But I do know that a woman with dubious taste in cosmetics sealed the ransom note. I presume she posted it. It is likewise clear that she did not write the note.
Clear to you, perhaps. A professional opinion would not be amiss.
Talk of the boy seems to have struck a nerve.
His demeanor changed. But is the alteration significant? He might simply be one of those suffocatingly protective family retainers.
Perhaps, but I think I saw more than duty in his eyes. My compliments, Sherman. I hope we find you well.
Blast you, Sherlock! You've interrupted a perfectly good nap. What do you want?
Common courtesy would make for a pleasant change.
That commodity's in shorter supply than usual. What's your business?
We'd like to borrow Toby.
How did you question?
Must we guess the reason for your foul humour?
And you've the brass to call yourself a detective?
Your rheumatism is acting up, I see, and you've been sleeping poorly.
True, but I'm more than 10. Common ailments at my age.
Then, of course, your canine companion is not on the premises.
Perhaps you're not as slow-witted as you look.
Would you like a fresh cuppa, Sherman?
Do you think Toby can be had for a cup of tea? The scheme's unworthy of you, lad.
I won't insult your intelligence, Sherman. Don't insult mine. If you're beyond recognizing a civil gesture, we can leave.
If I impute a polluted motive to your actions, Sherlock, I'm sorry.
Apology accepted, old friend.
Recall that I said if.
We have need of your treasure's skill.
Everybody wants Toby. I wonder I'm still in business. Well, you can't have him. He's abandoned me, fickle beast. Dallying out west with his lady friend, I'll wager. A slinky Afghan. The dot has to run us St. James Park.
You haven't hidden him or let him out to others, have you?
You know I'd lend him if I could. When have I denied you?
Sherman, have you ever considered ventilating these premises?
Nothing worse for man or beast than a chill wind. Besides, the scent of the neighbourhood is not what you might call savoury.
Of all the creatures in the shop, I'm partial to Badger.
If I thought you were serious, I would schedule a sanity hearing. Badger is a bad-tempered, malignant brute. Have you forgotten when he buried his teeth in your ankle?
It's just his nature.
Yes, he is a thoroughly nasty one.
Sherman's in a snit. Suggestions?
The old bird stuffer is kin to his more malevolent species.
He's just lonely, and it makes him irritable. Hello, young man. May I pet your dog?
You probably shouldn't. He's not vicious, but he doesn't seem to like it. Petting, that is.
I think I recognize your dog. His name is Toby.
No, my dog's name is Rex. He stays right by me.
I'm sure he likes you very well, but he belongs to an old man who misses him.
Then he shouldn't let Rex run untended. Finders keepers. I'll take better care of him. He's my friend. I'm keeping him, no matter what Aunt Agatha says.
Do you like Kipling's work?
What's that? The book you were reading. It's by Rudyard Kipling.
Is it? Father sent it to me. I like the animal stories. They're interesting. The animals. There's one like a weasel. He's especially clever.
This could be difficult, Watson. Why is the boy so taken with Toby?
He may be lonesome. Perhaps he is hungry for companionship.
Who is not? When Don said, "No man is an island," he included women and children. Bertie, what do you know of the little fellow on the bench?
Master St. John Hart. He's often here, lives with relations across the way. Just took up with that pooch.
You know the dog?
I've seen him before. Look how he sits so quiet. Seems to understand the boy needs his company.
He wouldn't mistreat the animal.
Never. Always kind to Fred and keen. Knows all about his simian ancestors. I've been tempted to lend him out. Boy's always alone. Pa's in India. He could use a friend.
Listen, lad, I need to borrow Toby. May I do that?
I couldn't give up Rex.
But I need him to find another boy who's lost. He might be in great danger.
Well, I'm sorry for him, but Rex is my friend.
Perhaps we could arrange for a reward, a finder's fee. Would you like that?
I don't want money. I want a friend.
Sherman, a young boy is caring for Toby. I'd like to reward him for his trouble.
You're on your own hook there, Sherlock. I'm without funds.
He's not looking for money. Another pet might serve. Might I purchase one for him?
A business transaction? That's novel. No, it would be like selling one of my children. I might give one away, but not Badger.
The stoat, then, or your Indian companion?
Ah, the mongoose. Yes, I would part with him, if I could find him. The little brute has disappeared again. He's a clever beast, like all of his species.
Here's the rascal, taking a kip in your clock.
Excellent. I suppose he had the cuckoo for a snack. Naughty goose. Still, you'll make a nice pet for the boy.
The lost has been found, Sherman. Might I make the transaction and use Toby?
You have a mission, I suppose, and something for him to follow.
Absolutely. He should be invaluable.
Well, put him on a scent. And mind, you bring him back in good condition.
We've brought a new companion for you, Master Hart.
What is it? Tell, please. What is it?
An Indian mongoose.
Lovely. He'll be easy to hide in my room.
Treat him well, won't you?
I will. I promise. I can keep him.
Of course. May we take Toby, Rex?
If you can get him to go with you. I hope he finds what you're looking for. Bye, Rex.
Bring the hound, Watson. We're off to Windsor. I hope the trail is not too cold. We've scoured the town without success. Ideas?
My powers of invention have been depleted, Holmes. We've visited every public hostelry and residential hotel. I've run out of pretext for inquiring about the lad, but let's presume that Toby had a reason for coming this way.
I'm a bit disappointed in the old boy. In fairness, he didn't have a lot to go on. The lad might not even be in Windsor.
I believe the hound is not played out yet, and so do you.
The stationery shop comes honestly by its name.
I noted that it derived from more than its position on the eponymous street. Very nice.
I wonder why there are so few people about.
The residents are shy or unsociable. Fear of violence, a holy day, inclement weather predicted. Shall I continue to speculate?
It's no matter. What would we ask? Seen a woman and an unwilling boy, have the constabulary on our heads to no purpose, and put the boy at risk? Toby's sniffer is definitely not up to snuff. You don't suppose his skills have deteriorated?
Why not? It happens to all living things as they age. So will it happen to us.
Thank you for the cheery reminder, Doctor. I'll look forward to that, shall I? Saints preserve us from the ennui of suburban life, Watson.
You were meant for the city, Holmes, but a certain quiet would suit me now.
Do you recognize this stationery?
Of course. That paper's pink or sky blue. It's very popular. It's highly affordable, and the scent is refined, and the castle watermark gives it a certain cachet.
Then you couldn't say who might have purchased it.
Not a chance. We sell several boxes each week.
I apologize for interrupting your labor. Might I have a moment?
If you're quick about it.
I know it's unusual, but could I ask you to smell the letter?
The scent has been adulterated. I should say overwhelmed by some very common toilet water.
Does the smell recall any particular customer to mind?
No. That smell sends me running for my handkerchief. Good day.
Have you recently seen a boy in a marrowbone uniform? His dark hair may still show some red.
Me brothers are redheads, but they never went to school.
I rather meant a customer. He was probably accompanied by a woman.
No, sir, I've seen no such couple.
What are your most popular sweets?
We've got candied fruits, hard sweetmeats, treacle lumps and brittle, butterscotch toffee, peppermint, white and pink, a fine selection of chocolates.
Yes, I get the idea, thank you. Have you sold any peppermints recently?
Funny you should ask. A lady bought £2 worth just today. She usually buys toffee, got a real sweet tooth she has.
You know where she lives?
Can't say. She comes from that way.
Thank you, lad, for your trouble. There's a small person lying on the settee, Watson. I see a sprig of chestnut hair.
I never doubted, Toby. Let's find our way in. Discretion is essential.
The appalling stupidity of certain criminals defies the imagination.
I hope you can take the greatest possible advantage of your observation. Like lucky house burglars, we must be thankful for fools who conceal their keys in imprudent locations.